Dogs may be the only part of creation we love fiercely, while almost never asking what that love is meant to teach us. We treat their loyalty as ordinary, even though nothing about it is ordinary at all. Somewhere in the pages of Scripture, their quiet presence shows up in ways most people skip over without noticing. And when you look closely, those small appearances begin to say something about us as much as them. There's a simple truth tucked inside that may shift how you understand your relationship with your dog. If you'd like to keep exploring these gentle discoveries together, feel free to like the video and subscribe. Chapter 1. Real-life examples of loyalty and protection. It's strange how a dog can sense danger long before you notice anything at all. You see it in the way they step in front of you without hesitation, as if their small body could shield you from whatever is coming. And you feel it in those moments when their loyalty shows up quietly, like the way they stay beside you when the world feels heavy and you don't have the words to explain why. Stories like Hiko's aren't rare because dogs are exceptional. They're common because dogs are built with a kind of devotion that goes deeper than instinct. You start to realize their actions carry a spiritual weight, almost as if they've been placed in your life to guard more than just your front door. And once that settles in your heart, you begin noticing a different kind of guidance standing right beside you. Chapter 2. Animals as guides and protectors in Scripture. Animals noticing what humans miss isn't an accident. You see it in the story of Balaam's donkey, standing firm in front of danger that Balaam himself was blind to, almost as if the animal could feel the spiritual tension in the air. And when you look at your own dog, leaning into you on the days when something inside you feels unsettled, it suddenly doesn't seem so far from that ancient moment. Their instincts often reach into places we don't slow down enough to understand, responding to fear, illness, or confusion with a kind of quiet certainty. It makes you wonder if their presence is one of the softest ways God chooses to warn, nudge, or comfort us when we need it most. And once you start seeing them this way, you can't help noticing another layer to our connection that rarely gets talked about. Chapter 3. Humanity's spiritual connection to animals. There's a quiet kind of clarity that comes when you realize your dog might be teaching you more than you think. Adam naming the animals wasn't just a task, it was a moment of recognition, a way of acknowledging that each creature carried something unique and worth knowing. And when you look at your own dog, watching you with that steady, patient focus, you can feel a similar kind of recognition happening in your everyday life. Their presence has a way of slowing you down, softening you, reminding you that connection doesn't always come through words or logic. Over time, you begin to sense that their place in your life isn't random, that the loyalty and warmth they offer is shaping your character in small, lasting ways. And once you notice that shaping, you start to understand the deeper intention behind why certain animals stay close to us. Chapter 4. God's purpose for animals in creation. A moment comes to mind when you watch your dog resting in a patch of sunlight, completely at peace, and it makes you wonder how anything so gentle could be accidental. Creation was spoken into existence with harmony in mind, a kind of balance where every living thing carried meaning, even the ones we overlook. And when you think about dogs through that lens, their loyalty, their joy, their endless willingness to stay close, starts to feel intentionally woven into the world, rather than evolving by chance. They carry qualities that soften the human heart, qualities that mirror the goodness God wanted reflected in the rhythm of everyday life. Over time, you start to see their presence not just as companionship, but as a quiet reminder of a design that values connection and comfort. And the more you sit with that thought, the more you begin to feel how naturally it leads into the responsibilities we hold toward them. Chapter 5. Biblical responsibility to care for animals. Have you ever noticed how the way you treat your dog says something deeper about the state of your heart? Scripture describes the righteous as people who care for the beings dependent on them, and you can feel the truth of that every time your dog looks at you with trust that assumes kindness. There's a quiet responsibility in that gaze, a reminder that compassion isn't shown in grand gestures, but in small, daily acts of feeding, sheltering, protecting, and simply being present. When you choose patience instead of frustration, or gentleness instead of dismissal, something in you aligns with a softer, more grounded version of yourself. And over time, you begin to realize that your dog's unconditional love is more than affection. It's a reflection of the kind of steady, forgiving love God keeps offering you, which makes the way you respond to them feel like part of a much larger conversation about who you're becoming. Chapter 6. Caring for dogs as a sacred practice. You notice it on an ordinary morning when your dog trots over, tail soft, waiting for the simple routine you share. And something about that moment feels more meaningful than it should. There's a gentleness in those small rituals that opens your heart without asking for anything in return, almost as if the act of caring shapes you quietly over time. Every meal you set down, every walk you take, every moment you pause to scratch behind their ears becomes a tiny reflection of the compassion God keeps trying to grow in you. And as your dog responds with that boundless joy only they can give, you start to realize their happiness is woven into your own spiritual growth in ways you never expected. It changes you slowly, teaching patience on the days you're tired, kindness on the days you're irritable, empathy on the days you're distracted or overwhelmed. And once you feel that shift, even a little, you begin to understand how deeply this simple relationship aligns with the kind of heart God hopes you'll keep nurturing. Chapter 7. Consequences of neglect and mistreatment. It's unsettling to realize how quickly a dog can lose their light when the home they trust becomes a place of tension. You can see it in the way their tail lowers, in how their body shrinks instead of leans in, as if they're bracing for something they don't understand. And the truth is, their spirit absorbs the atmosphere around them far more deeply than most people want to admit. When kindness is missing, their joy doesn't disappear all at once. It fades slowly, turning into confusion, then worry, then a kind of quiet sadness that settles into the corners of the house. A home where an animal is mistreated takes on a heaviness, a subtle fracture in the air that everyone feels even if they don't talk about it. And once you see how quickly that fracture forms, it becomes impossible not to wonder what it's doing to the people living there as well. Chapter 8. Spiritual impact of neglect on the human heart. So what happens inside a person when they stop noticing the pain of a creature that depends on them? At first, it feels like nothing changes, like the heart can ignore small moments of indifference without any real consequence. But over time, something subtle shifts, and the same quiet hardness that dims a dog's spirit begins settling into the person who caused it. Compassion weakens when it isn't used, and the ability to feel tender toward others starts to thin out in ways you don't fully see until much later. You begin drifting from the softer values that once guided you, almost as if neglecting the smallest life in your care nudges you away from the person you were meant to become. And once you recognize that drift, even a little, you start to understand how deeply your treatment of a dog reflects the state of your soul. Chapter 9. Harmony between humans and animals in God's vision. Isn't it strange how a single moment of peace with your dog can feel like a small glimpse of a world that hasn't arrived yet? The softness in those moments doesn't feel imagined. It feels like something echoing a deeper hope, the kind Isaiah described when he spoke of creation living together without fear. And when your dog curls beside you, calm and trusting, it's easy to forget how rare that kind of harmony is in most parts of life. Their presence shows you what it feels like when gentleness becomes the natural language of a home, reshaping the atmosphere without any effort at all. Every quiet act of care you give them becomes a small doorway for that peace to settle in, as if compassion itself invites something holy to draw closer. And the more you honor that bond, the more you realize how much God values the way we treat those who rely on us. Chapter 10. Dogs as spiritual teachers. Your dog nudges your hand on a day when your mind feels crowded, and without thinking, you pause long enough to breathe again. There's something profoundly simple in that moment. Something that reminds you how easily dogs bring you back to yourself without saying a word. Their loyalty has a way of grounding you, pulling you out of your distractions and into a softer, more present version of your life. And as you watch the way they forgive quickly, love openly, and find joy in the most ordinary moments, you start to realize they're modeling qualities you've been trying to grow in yourself for years. Every interaction becomes a quiet invitation to slow down, to feel more deeply, to treat the world with the same gentleness they offer so freely. And once you see them this way, it becomes impossible not to feel the weight of the responsibility they place in your hands and the grace they bring into your life in return. There's a gentle warmth that comes from realizing just how deeply your dog fits into the rhythm of your life. The care you've given them, even on your worst days, already speaks to a kindness they've trusted from the beginning. What lingers now is the understanding that every shared moment is shaping a connection that's far more intentional than it seems. And maybe letting that settle will help you slow down and really feel the love they're offering back. Because when you look closely, you'll notice they've quietly chosen one person to anchor themselves to. That choice has roots, emotional, instinctive, and beautifully personal. If your heart wants to know why they chose you, I'm right here to guide you into the next part of their story.